Hello friends, it's Amy and I'm in the studio and I'm so excited because my friend Lauren Fairweather has invited me to be in her music video. Well, she invited my artwork to be in it, and so I will link that below. If you're coming from her channel, thank you so much for visiting, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Let's get to it. For brush lettering, I enjoy using water brushes. This is the Zig medium tip brush, and it's my first time using this particular brand, but as you can see, this tip, sorry it's not focusing, is about this size, and I like them when they're very pointy. As you can see here, this is a larger tip of a different Zig brush, and it's really a great thickness for a normal sheet of paper, and I'm going to put it to work in my bullet journal actually. So here is the spread. Lauren was sweet enough to send over the lyrics to her song, and I wanted to create something using these watercolors. These are Sakura watercolors. They're called Koi, and I've linked this below. I've linked all the supplies that I'm using below, because I constantly get asked for my favorite watercolor supplies, and though it changes frequently, I love trying new products and testing out different supplies to see what I like best. I think that as you practice and have more patience and learn your style, you can hone in on the stuff that you like using by only trying different things. So I'm sort of a creature of habit too, and I tend to stick to the same colors and sometimes the same supplies, but to change it up and to expand my horizons, I encourage you to use the supplies that you have, and then also when you feel the need to try new things, definitely do that too. Sometimes when I'm in a creative slump, that's what helps get me out of it. So for the first part of this lyric or quote, I'm doing it on this side, and this is all real time, so I haven't sped it up yet. I'll speed up some other ones. So you can see that every stroke is pretty, I guess, intentional, and I spend my time, with each individual stroke. So this is something that I have done for several years. I don't think brush lettering comes naturally to me, but I do love practicing my handwriting, and I encourage you to also practice. And I'm going to put the second part of the quote on this side of the page. I had thought about changing up the color, but I think it'll be better if I stick with the same one and just continue the quote. There are obviously many ways you can approach this, but for the most part, I try to make my downstrokes thick and my upstrokes thin. Now, it doesn't work that way, for instance, the N, because there are two downstrokes there, I sort of change it up. And sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. So it just depends on how I'm lettering and what my style is or what my mood is for that day and for that moment. I definitely, when I teach brush lettering classes, I always like to encourage the people to choose their own style and go with what works, because your handwriting is something that you've naturally done for years, and it's really hard to completely replicate it, even though you're learning a new technique and method. Pretty much the muscle memory that you're building is built in with your natural handwriting. So there are things that you can change with practice, but I love the idea of making your handwriting look like your own. Okay, so there's the finished quote. Do what you love and don't look back. Now for this large tip Zig water brush, I'm taking a 12 by 12 piece of American Crafts cardstock, and I will fill up this brush with water. The way I like to fill the brush is I run it under water, the tap, and then I squeeze that little piece there to fill up the reservoir. Now, for this part, I'm going to speed up some of it because It's basically the same thing that I did before, although I will be doing different techniques like stamping and mixing some colors. So as I squeeze the water into the palette, I make sure that I squeeze on top of it so I'm not rubbing at the same time that I'm squeezing the water. The only thing that that does is it brings in some of the paint into that barrel, and it doesn't necessarily damage your brush, but I personally try to avoid it if I can. For spacing, I know some people like to use pencil, but I personally just try to visualize it and sketch it out in my head. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I've learned to, over time, give myself grace and also make sure I practice quite a bit before I commit to doing a piece. Trust me, I've messed up many times and I will continue to mess up. But part of the beauty of making mistakes is learning from them. I love taking the lessons that I've learned and been able to change those little things that I've done wrong. I mean, sometimes it's small things such as writing the same word twice or spelling a word wrong. There are different ways of fixing it, but at the same time, instead of being so caught up in the fact that I've messed up, I prefer to give myself grace, move on, and then go with producing some more work. I try not to let that stop me. This is the green mixed with the blue, and now I'm going to speed up the process so you can see a little bit more of how this came together. And if you're just starting out with brush lettering, then I would recommend starting slow. You can pick up your pace, but I try to be very intentional about each stroke first. And then once you get comfortable with that and your muscle memory develops, then you can move on to going a little bit faster. I've got a stamp set here from my shop and then 2 colors of Simon Says Stamp ink. I'm peeling off the world map and I'm going to place it about there, mounting it on an acrylic block, and then just cleaning it with this lawn fawn chamois. And then I'm going to try to create this ombre effect by stamping a little bit of the spring rain and then a little bit of the other color at the bottom. And it looks really good. Blue Jay's the other color. But I'm also going to fill in just a little bit more at the bottom so that it's an even more ombre effect. I think that turned out great. And honestly, if I was a total perfectionist, then I'd probably be upset about the placement, but I'm not at all. I think that it's great the way it is. So now moving on, I actually switched the order of the lyric. I'm not really sure why I did that. I guess I knew that I wanted to use that world stamp, and so I did that one first. Now I am going to script the first part of that quote that Lauren gave me. The things you create make the world a better place. That's how the lyric goes. If you haven't heard the song yet, you need to check it out. She included all these other YouTubers, which are so fun to see. And it was an awesome experience being able to create these pieces of art and then see them come together in an awesome music video. Lauren is so talented. And I just love that she shares her gifts and is able to give the opportunity to other people who want to do the same. So this is the broad tip with zig. You can see that it's flat on the top. And I think that I want to create just sort of an abstract background to fill up the space on the page. This is a very freeing process. It's one of the exercises that you could actually start by doing before you start brush lettering, is just play with some watercolors, get the feel of how you like the paint mixing with the water, the amount of water that you'd like, what you're comfortable with, and just have fun with it. Now I'm taking another stamp set from my shop. It's all linked below. This one is super fun because it has phrases on one side and then patterns and designs on another. I'm taking this Tim Holtz craft mat underneath because I know that I want to stamp on the borders and edges of this paper to make it look really cool and continuous. So I definitely want to protect my work surface when I'm doing that. All right, same process here. I will choose the stamp. I'll peel off this back protector there. Always save those, by the way, if you're new to acrylic stamping or clear stamping. And then I'll choose the polka dots, the splotches, and then grab an acrylic block, mount it, and then make sure that I have my ink ready to go and figure out my placement for the stamping. So like I said here, because I want the design to run off of the page, it's important that you have something to protect your work surface. There have been plenty of opportunities where I didn't take the time to actually do that and I've stamped my table, or I tried to avoid it. You could definitely take a scrap piece of paper too if you don't have one of these craft mats. The nice thing about these mats is that they wipe off very easily and clean. So stamping more stuff on the background here, I'm just going to finish it up and put some final touches on it, and then I think it's done. Be sure to check out Lauren's video, and remember that the things you create make the world a better place. I hope you feel inspired to get those creative juices flowing. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe and comment below. Let me know what you're doing to craft a life you love. Thanks so much.